Hello fellow humans and welcome back to the Madhouse. I'm Josh and today I wanted to do the Tolkein Character Tag by booktuber Things Lucy Reads. I'll link to her video around here somewhere. Essentially there are a list of 15 and one extra for a time Tolkien characters from The Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion and questions based on them. So I didn't choose the characters or the questions, but I watched Lucy's video and I had to say it looked like a lot of fun. Now I'm afraid I don't know as much about Middle-earth as I would like to know, so I've pinched some of her explanations of the characters and I've relied a little bit on the wiki. So I'm very sorry if I've gotten these wrong. Number 1. ARAGORN. A book that ended up being everything you wanted it to be. See, for me, that book had to be The Silkworm by Robert Galbraith. I mean, I read The Cuckoo's Calling, the first one in the series, not knowing that it was J.K. Rowling's first foray into crime and mystery fiction, and I absolutely loved it. When I found out it was Rowling, I realised just how much of a good writer she was, and I was so looking forward to this, and I was not disappointed. Cormoran Shrike is truly amazing. Such a masterfully crafted character, he might as well be alive. Number 2. CELEBORN. Your favourite character who often gets overlooked. Well, now this was a tough one, but I'm decided to go a bit mainstream with the series. Molly Weasley from the Harry Potter series. See my rather battered copy here. She's a lovely little lady full of kindness and motherly love for the most famous orphaned wizard in the world. She's friendly but fierce and filled with fire and a fury that is terrifying to behold. She looks after everyone in the first 6 books and cares for them, which is certainly impressive, and the fact that she hasn't managed to strangle Fred and George to death really shows how strong a character she is. But in the 7th you see just how powerful a character is. She can beat Bellatrix Lestrange because the love she has for her children is so strong. When people are asked who their favourite Harry Potter characters are, they tend to say Harry, Hermione, Dumbledore, or for some reason unknown to me, Bellatrix Lestrange. But for me, it has to be Molly. Number 3. CELEBRÍAN, or CELEBRÍAN, I don't know how it's pronounced. A book or character that you wish had got a better ending. Quite frankly, Inheritance by Christopher Paolini. While looking back at it, I see now that the story has in fact ripped a lot off from practically every fantasy series going. It was fun and I liked it. And the way that the dragons were handled actually was fascinating. But the ending was just incredibly underwhelming. Without giving away too many spoilers for those of you who haven't read it, the way Galbatorix is finally defeated was entirely predictable and unimpressive given what we're told about him. Essentially, he's made to feel guilty about his crimes and kills himself. That's it. Number 4. CÍRDAN. The first book you bought / received, or the oldest book you own. Now for that, I'm going to have to say Kensuke's Kingdom by Malcolm Uppergo. It's not the oldest book I own, that's a Bible that belonged to my granddad and it's about 70 years old. But it's the first one that I remember buying for myself that wasn't full of stories about Dennis the Menace or the Bash Street Kids, so that tells you what age I was when I read it. It's about a boy who's washed overboard from his family's boat and finds himself stranded on an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, with, it turns out, an elderly Japanese doctor who has been there since the Second World War. 5. ELROND. A book that helped you through a hard time or that you related to the most. A Single Man by Christopher Isherwood. I often feel like a grumpy middle-aged man at heart who doesn't understand young people even though I'm only 19 and I was 15 when I first read this. I'm rather intelligent and I don't interact well with others. When I read it, I felt like I was reading my own future, like George and I were essentially the same person. And I'm trying to stop myself from becoming so bitter, but every time I read it, it hits me again with that same level that this is me. 6. ELWING, your least favourite fictional character. See, this was a tough one because there are so many I don't like, but I could say any character in Pride and Prejudice really, they all annoy me somewhat. The Bennet women are all impressive, but they're all subjected to the desires of men and they seem to go along with it. And that annoys me, although obviously they had no choice in the matter. But if I had to pick one, I'd go with Bingley, because he's an utter arsehole. 7. ÉOWYN. Book with the most badass or just your favourite female character. Picking a particular book for this character was quite difficult because this mistress features in several books. But I'm going to have to go with Carpe Jugulum by Terry Pratchett. Granny Weatherwax is a strong witch who has previously beat the Queen of the Fairies through sheer will, sent an entire country 15 years into the future, and saved a city from her evil fairy godmother sister. She's strong, tough and arrogant, but she knows how to be submissive too. She allows herself to be bitten by vampires and fights off vampirification, only to make the vampires start craving tea and biscuits instead of blood. She is amazing and strong and loses absolutely none of her femininity with it. It's fantastic. That's one of a problem I have with a lot of feminist literature, but I'll get into that in a later video. Number 8. FARAMIR, a sequel that ended up being better than you expected. This one is technically not a sequel. I'm a fan of the Terror books by Robert Muchimo, and the original series finished with Shadow Wave. The second series, entitled the Aramov series, were interesting in that they were all part of a single overlapping scheme to bring down a criminal empire. And there was few such castings in the original, and I love so many of the new characters, especially Ning. Ning is fantastic. Number 9. I will apologise now because I'm going to absolutely butcher the pronunciation. FÖANOR. A book where the characters consistently made really stupid decisions. Now this one is cheating too. I couldn't pick one, so I've gone for the entire series. A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin. You know what I mean. Ned Stark, Cersei Lannister, Robert Baratheon, Daenerys Targaryen. They've all made stupid mistakes. 10. Frodo. A book that didn't live up to the hype. I'm going to have to say The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. I don't get it. It's sad, but it didn't move me to tears. I didn't feel uncomfortable. It was just a bit sad. 11. Gil-galad. A fictional death you will never get over. God. Sorry, no more Nietzsche jokes, I promise. Seriously though, I'd have to say Lupin in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Both Tonks and Remus' deaths were very sad and left another child without parents. But essentially, I'd known Lupin for longer than Tonks, so I didn't choose Tonks. Number 12. Gimli. Your favourite fictional friendship. That's an easy one. Even if I hadn't scripted this beforehand, I'd be saying this. Sherlock Holmes and John Watson. There's such loyalty and a close connection between them, even in the first story, Study in Scarlet. You can see it. It's brilliant. I actually get a little annoyed at people, and there are far more of them nowadays, what with the BBC television programme, who write slash fiction for these two. I understand that they're close, but to insert a sexual or romantic connection where there plainly isn't one, only detracts from the potency of their friendship. Why do they need to be in love when they can have just a strong relationship as friends? Number 13, Legolas. The prettiest book, and what a pretty book he is too. I'm going to have to say Fever Crumb by Philip Reeve. It was the first book that made me realise that the cover of a book could be just as beautiful as the words inside it. 14, Mythos. Most physically damaged book. To be honest, I'm not going to show this one because it's actually embarrassing. It's an atlas full of maps and pictures of the world, and it's lovely and very pretty. But I went years without using it. The spine is absolutely buggered and the pages are slightly crushed and bent, and it's horrid. Number 15, Tom Bombadil, A Book You've Forgotten. Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I can honestly not remember what it's about. I've read it and I can remember enjoying it when I read it, but no idea what it's about. Life's a bit like that sometimes. C'est la vie. Now for the bonus question. Haldir, A character that got ruined in their book's film adaptation. Well, I can think of several characters who would be ruined if it were turned into a film, but to pick one that has been ruined, Ron Weasley a la Harry Potter again. In the books, Hermione is the brains, Harry is the hero with the brawn, and Ron is the heart. He also has the innate knowledge of the wizarding world that Hermione and Harry would never have, no matter how much they studied. Whereas in the films, he's mostly there just for comic effect and as a foil for Hermione's brilliance. I absolutely love the films, but I just felt that Ron was not handled very well in any of them, apart from Deathly Hallows. So that's it. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. You can check out my social media links below. I'll put the questions in the description too, and you can have a go at them if you want yourselves, except they're actually not so bad. It's kind of fun to sit and think about your books like this. Same time next week. Bye!